This is Dona Speir. And for the last year, you've been reading my article, Naked Truth. But something happened to me this year. While I was in line getting my vaccine, I looked around and I saw all these workers who were doing something for the government, and they were all working toward the pandemic. And it made me realize everybody had been focused on the COVID pandemic. And as I sat there, what came to me was there's another pandemic that nobody's focusing on. And the COVID, hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people have died. We're overlooking a major pandemic that we're losing hundreds and hundreds of people a day. In fact, we have lost so many people. In 2020 alone, we don't even have a full count. And the pandemic I'm talking about is the opioid pandemic. And so as I sat there, I thought about it and I wondered, who is really responsible for this? You know, the federal government dumps tons and tons of money in for this, tons of money, but we don't see where it's going because people are dying left and right. And so I sat there and I thought, so is it the government who's at fault? Is it Big Pharma who's at fault? Is it the pharmacies who are just doling out prescriptions? Are they at fault? I don't know who's at fault. But what I do know is that I'm responsible because I'm an addict and I understand how addicts think. I really do. And so as I sat there and I waited and I watched these people buzz around, all in order, everybody knew what was going on. I thought, what am I going to do to make a change? How am I going to be responsible? And so I took my little article, Naked Truth, and I said, you know what? I'm going to seek out these people who are making a change in our society. I want to know what people are doing something. I want to get involved with these people who are doing something with boots on the ground. And so I started to seek them out. And I started right here in my backyard in Scottsdale, Arizona. And you know what? I found this wonderful man named Estil Wallace. And Estil is with Cornerstone Healing Centers. And he has got this great thing going on here. And he is out there in the battlegrounds, in the dirt, with his feet going on. And he's sober and he's clean and he knows what he's doing because he's with them every single day. So I want to introduce you to Estil Wallace, my friend. Estil, thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, Donna. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I know you are right ready to have a baby any second. So I know this is like really, you just squeaked me in, and thank your wife for me. I mean, this is any second a baby's coming. Estil, I want to ask you a little bit. I want to hear a little bit about your background because I know you are just hardcore. You come from, using drugs and you understand what this is about.
Sure. Well, I've been in recovery 17 years, abstinence-based recovery. I don't use any mind-altering substances. There's no methadone or Suboxone in my system, anything like that. I got sober in like an old school Central City halfway house. Mm-hmm. Most places still have at least one or two of those around. That's kind of the brand of sobriety I came in under, and I eventually took on a lot of volunteer work, not only in the 12-step world, but also in the housing side. So I worked as a volunteer for a 175-bed facility that took in newly sober alcoholics and drug addicts off the street every day. I worked there for 12 years, and then eventually opened up Cornerstone. We're I'd say four, but no fronts. We're almost four. We're three years in business here. So yeah, I've been boots on the ground for a long time here in the greater Phoenix area, helping people try to find new life.
Okay. And I know that you opened that up, you opened Cornerstone up. And so tell me a little bit about Cornerstone. So how many beds is your facility?
We are currently 30. We've actually tripled in size since the pandemic started.
Really?
So, yeah, we were 10 beds in March of 2020.
Wow.
Now we're 30 beds, and we're gearing up to open up an entire another facility, actually two facilities. One is a bigger outpatient facility and another 10-bed residential.
Wow. What is the percent of those opioid related right now?
Oh, 85%.
Amazing.
85% I would say synthetic opioids, fentanyl is the drug of preference on in most cases that we work with, most people that we work with. I do a lot of this for free and for fun in my personal life as well, like I know you do.
Mhm.
And many of those cases, it's the same. I'm seeing 80 to 90% fentanyl users, fentanyl specific. They prefer
Right.
fentanyl above above other substances. It's really, really widespread. It's really strong and it's really inexpensive.
Right. That's right. Because it's so cheap to make, people can just cut it and add it into whatever they want. I mean, you're seeing it in cocaine, you're seeing it in opioid pills, you're seeing it in heroin. I
They're
mean,
putting it in
I'll
meth. It's
meth.
weird.
What are you putting fentanyl and meth for? I mean, it
I don't
doesn't,
know.
I mean, I've
It's,
been clean a long time. I don't understand it, but it's happening. And it's happening, and they can't predict how much is in it. And that's why people are dying.
yes, it's measured in micrograms, not milligrams. So to misdose it is very easy, and a misdosing can mean your life. You could take, in even somebody with a mild tolerance could easily overdose. And what we're seeing a lot of, unfortunately, is people trying to get sober. Let's say they're using fentanyl for maybe 6 months or a year, enough, even if it was only a couple months, enough to be physically dependent. They get sober. Let's say they try a detox or something, and they get sober 5, 10 days, and then they
Mhm.
go back to it. And their first couple of pills, if they're dosed a little high, can overdose and kill them.
Isn't that amazing?
There's high schoolers trying it for the first time, taking what they think is a Percocet with a beer,
Right. And
overdose and
that's
die.
all
15
over
year olds, 16-year olds, it's happening every day.
every single day. I know. I was just somewhere last night and I was listening, and a 30-year-old just died of it. And I've lost my nephew, 26 years old, who got addicted to opioids and then went to heroin and overdosed. I mean, that was before the fentanyl came in. So this has been going on a lot of years. I mean, this has been happening. The opioid and then the fentanyl is what really kicked him over. But so what, let me ask you a couple of things. So about Cornerstone, right? This is funny. I was reading a little bit about it. You describe Cornerstone as where the no hopers go.
Is that what I said? I
I
would
love
say
it.
something
You
like
call
that.
it where the no hopers go. No, I've been there. I've been there. And these guys are working. And this isn't like Cornerstone is not your Malibu.
No.
Okay, this isn't where people are going and they're getting massages and then they have the little pet therapy, right?
Yeah.
And then they all circle around and they hug each other and do the kumbaya left to right. That is not what Cornerstone is. Tell me a little about your culture in Cornerstone.
Well, great question. On what you the specifics of what you just asked. I sometimes, because when we advertise, even like online, like we don't advertise as like a luxury rehab. So if you have like Nordstrom's here and you have Walmart here, we're like Target. We're kind of nice. It's kind of
Okay.
nice. It's not a luxury place though. And there's I mean, the place I got sober, which in my mind is hallowed sacred ground.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that place was rough, really rough by compare. I mean, this is still Scottsdale. I mean, they're in nice houses. So it's got a nice
Right.
facility. There's
I
a
mean,
gym.
your facility is nice. Don't get me
Yeah,
wrong, but I walked in your gym
yeah.
and it was where all the guys were, and I'm like, oh, excuse me,
In here lifting weights.
you're big and you're big, and I'm getting out of your way. You know? Right. But you
um,
talked about no, and I got sober. Where I got sober, I mean, it took the whole room to get a full set of teeth. So it was like, I get that. And I needed that.
sure,
I needed that.
sure.
So, I mean, no, it's a way step above that.
Yeah, it's definitely a couple steps above that, but you're right. It's not Malibu. The culture here is really based on the simple premise of mind, body, spirit. So when we talk about holistic, I almost feel like it's such a buzzword, like, oh, it's a whole holistic treatment. But at its core, what we really want to do is treat the mind, the body, and the spirit simultaneously. So it's not rocket science. What we do is pretty simple at its core. We get up early, we learn to meditate, we learn how to have difficult, honest conversations, we change our eating habits, and we exercise our bodies, try and get into better shape. We go to bed early, we go to 12-step meetings, we work with 12-step sponsors. We work with a primary therapist. We do a lot of trauma work here. We have multiple EMDR certified licensed therapists here. So they're at its core, we're hitting the heavy basic pillars or staples of a strong recovery program. You're getting all the clinical therapy along with a heavy dose of 12-step culture, while we're also getting our bodies into better shape. And it's really not, the culture isn't so heavy fitness that it's like intimidating, or it shouldn't be intimidating.
Right.
But we want the people that get sober here to uncover and examine for themselves some of these areas of life that have been ignored, like like some of the family system stuff, right? Some of the childhood stuff, some of the fitness stuff. It's really easy to ignore my physical health when I'm just drinking to live and living to drink, so to speak, or using to live and living to use. So we want to touch on all these areas. We're not like, it's not like a fitness only program or something like that. It's not like,
no, I know that. Yeah.
It's just,
right.
We do want to exercise, and the culture is one of honesty. It's a little rugged. It's a little raw, and it's where we get the heavy lifting done. If you think about, go ahead.
No, I love that about you guys, because see, one of my things, like I phrase most of the things I do called naked truth, because I am just really core raw. I mean, some people call me confrontational. I'm not that much as I used to be, but I will talk about things you don't want to talk about because they need to be spoken.
I love that about you. I love that.
And that was one thing I loved about you, is that you aren't afraid to bring up the uncomfortable things that need to be spoken about, and then discard them. And so when I walked in to Cornerstone Healing Center, I got the vibe about that. That's the vibe I got. And it wasn't like, I'm sure there's a lot of love and that kind of thing going on, but it's not that, oh, honey, it's going to be okay, love. Because I know for me, if I got that, I never would have stayed clean. I never would. It was like, you're going to be okay, but you know what, Donna, God damn it, you better do it, because you're going to die.
Mm-hmm. It's life and death, what we're dealing with. So there's kind of a fine line between holding space for someone and giving them the opportunity and the dignity to feel what they're feeling and go through, lean into the pain, so to speak, and go through the experience that they're going through and not deny them that. And simultaneously, support them through it. Say, listen, we're going to keep moving. I know you're going through hell, and we're going to keep going. Right. We're not giving up here just because this is hard. Of course it's hard. If it wasn't hard, everybody that ever had a drug problem would get sober. They don't. Right. They're dying by the hundreds a day.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of a no frills place. It's not, we're not in the hood. We're in North Scottsdale. It's pretty nice.
I know. You're in a beautiful location, and you're moving to even better location. No.
I know. No frills.
No. Yeah. When I say that the no hopers go, I meant it more like you guys are just straight shooters. Because knowing you, so here's the deal. So a lot of people open up these rehabs. We're going to make, this is my feeling from your place. This is what I get from your place. A lot of people are going to open up rehabs. We're going to make a ton of money. We're going to do this, or we're going to open up a luxury rehab where you can come sit in the jacuzzi and get your nails done, right? You guys, this is how because after knowing you, you guys are like, we're going to get clean and sober, and you're going to get a foundation that's going to last you. That's what you're going to get here. You're going to get it solid. You're going to get it straight, and you're going to get what you need to get and stay.
Yes, because we're concerned with outcomes primarily.
Right. And that's what I got with you. It wasn't like so many people, like I've been offered to go and open houses and do this and do them, put your name on it and make it frilly, and all these girls will come in. It's like, no, you don't get that. I don't want people coming in and out, because people die. And that's what you get. And that's why I liked you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Because, you opened up and you became very successful because of your integrity.
Well, I'll take that as a huge compliment. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We struggled pretty hard the first couple of years.
Well, and what was it on March 11, 2028? Hello. Your first client came in, and
That's right. 2018. Yeah, March 11th. That's correct. That's our first client.
Right.
He's still sober.
See?
I just talked to him yesterday.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? So tell me a little bit about what happens, okay? So a lot of people, see, including myself, Estil, so this is a real catch-22, okay, for me and for a lot of people. And I know we have to separate this, right? And this is always that fine freaking line, right? This is really hard. So there's a lot of people that are in recovery for the money, right? I mean, look at what was it? Promises. Promises was enormous. They were huge. They had all the stars. In fact, I know the attorney who did the BK for them.
Right.
Right. And they had it all going on. And then they tanked. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they were in for the money or whatever, but they tanked. Okay. Yeah, I know your motives because I've been around you. You're thriving. But there comes a point, right? For me, it's like I get a lot of coaching calls, right? And I know my prices aren't cheap, but I spend quality. I mean, I really spend quality time. I mean, I go over on hours and I go and I take a lot of pro bono cases because I have been given so freely. I've just been given. So what do we do with those people? What do we do with those people who can't afford it? What do we do? Where is the fine line here? What do we do here?
Well, I can tell you what we do at Cornerstone. So our phone rings off the hook.
Oh yeah.
Right? We get a lot of phone calls, a lot of referrals. And the truth is we only check in maybe a quarter of the people that ever call us. Mm-hmm. So for one reason or another, and yet we want everybody to go somewhere. So first things first, we obviously scholarship. So we have a scholarship program here and we always scholarship somebody all the way through for $0. That's their medications, their food, their treatment, their housing, transportation, case management, everything.
That's because you have good ethics, good motives, and integrity.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah.
See, you're going to make me cry. You really are, because that's what's important.
People took chances like that on me when I was new. So of course we scholarship. So we have a scholarship program that's always in effect. Beyond that, my admissions team. So in the beginning, we're a small company. So we're a relatively small company now. We're only about, we're less than 40 people right now, full time. But when we were brand new and we were only, a half dozen people, it was myself, another guy that did all of the business development and admissions work. And so as we built that department, I kind of trained each person coming in. And so we've shaped the culture of our admissions department, our business development department, that whenever we make contact with a human being that wants recovery, we will move mountains to help them find recovery, whatever that looks like. It could mean coming into here. It could mean going to a facility in California or Tennessee, or it could mean that us helping them get into a halfway house here in Phoenix. And helping them find a 12-step sponsor, rides to meetings. It could, there's plenty of places that take Medicaid policies here as well. We will help them land in those places. We spend a lot of time getting people into places of all kinds, because we don't want anybody that wants help to not find it. We feel a personal responsibility because we've been helped so much in our personal lives, because everybody under my admissions team is all in recovery themselves. Yeah. From as little as 2 years to as many as 10 plus. So all of them have a place in their heart, just like you do, just like I do, that when somebody reaches out for help, come hell or high water, if they want help, they don't have to sleep outside tonight. They don't have to be alone tonight. They don't have to stay at home with the four walls, if that's the case.
Right.
They don't have to do that. If they want help, there's help available and we'll find it.
Right.
Regardless of their financial situation.
Right. Exactly. I couldn't agree with that better. And I'm so happy to hear that. That is absolutely amazing. Amazing. That is what I'm talking about. It's our responsibility. It's our responsibility. Your people are all in recovery, and it's not about the Benjamins. I truly believe when we do what we love and we do it for the right reason, all of that comes and it all takes care of itself, and we do it for the right reasons. And then we just continue to give it all back, and it's all about, I know for me personally, it's a miracle I'm even alive sitting here. And I know that's for you too, so if we just keep giving it in a circular fashion,
And you bring up an interesting point. The pandemic, the shutdowns that were the stay-at-home orders and shutdowns that were handed out, and not even just that were handed out by government agencies, but also just the fear itself that was present early last year, could have taken us out. It could have shut us down. I watched treatment centers close.
Oh,
I watched quite a few of them shut their doors permanently last year. And we, in good conscience, couldn't allow fear to rule our decision making. And we made a conscious choice. I guess it must have been March, April, by early May. We made a couple of conscious choices. The first one is that we were really going to limit how much virtual care we offered. So everybody got on the virtual care bandwagon at first, and I'm not saying anything negative about virtual care, telemedicine in general. I think it's great. I think it's a great technological advancement, and I think it has a lot of opportunities to help people that otherwise might not get help, especially in places that were really locked down, places like Northern California and New York, places like in the UK, like London. There are a lot of cities that were really tightly shut down, and virtual is all you could get. So we began with a virtual outpatient program right at the beginning of this. And I got to tell you, the efficacy, we were brave enough to just be honest and say, like, this sucks. Like, the efficacy isn't here. And anybody that's really pushing the efficacy of outpatient behavioral health, I mean, they have an angle because it doesn't work. I have data to support it. I mean, it just doesn't work very well. The efficacy drops, and we're already fighting.
Right. No, I get it. I know a lot of people who drank during that time.
Oh yeah.
They just,
oh yeah.
You're still alone, and
Suicide,
your attention span is
alcohol,
minimal.
overdoses,
Oh, look,
all
a puppy. It's just, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So the first thing we did was we really limited how much virtual care. And it wasn't that we didn't offer. Like, if we had clients that were afraid to come in, we would see them virtually, let them see their therapist virtually. We made all that available, but we really strongly encourage people to come in, wear masks at 6 feet apart, whatever is going to make you feel safe, but come in here and be with us.
Yes.
Be with us. And as the technology for testing became better and better and more available, we were really hyperactive about offering testing to everybody that walked through the door, so that everybody could feel safer and to just be with us, because we need that human connection. We need it. We thrive on it. Think about this for a moment. If a person has committed a crime bad enough to be sentenced to prison for the next 10 years, what can you possibly threaten somebody who's serving a 10-year sentence with? What's the worst thing they can do to an inmate who's already serving a long sentence?
Isolation.
It's the last straw. It's the last straw to make somebody absolutely fucking crazy. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear. Sorry.
No, you can. It's fine.
All right. That's the last straw.
No, but you're right. That's what you do. Severe punishment,
The isolation.
And as addicts, we isolate in here anyway. And then, no, I get it. Go ahead, please.
So that was the first big thing we did, is we really made a hard push we made a hard push to keep our outpatient programs open for in-person engagement. We really made a hard push, and we had to take a stand on it because it was tumultuous, and there was a lot of fear involved. Now, we stayed within our local laws, the parameters of our local laws. But the second thing we did was 12-step meetings. So I'm going to try and say this without throwing anybody too much under the bus, but the leadership of a lot of groups fell victim to the same fear that a lot of other people fell victim to. And meeting halls across the country shuttered, many of them permanently. And some of them, it wasn't even up to the leadership of the groups. Churches shut their doors to 12-step meetings. 12-step halls shut their doors. Treatment centers that were hosting 12-step meetings, some of them closed permanently.
Boom, everywhere. They just shut. But you also got to remember, we're in Arizona. So we were a lot lighter than most places.
A lot lighter.
I moved here in August, and you guys were open compared to anywhere else I had been.
Compared to a lot of places.
Yeah, so try and remember that. We were a lot more like liberal, for lack of better words. So yeah, go ahead.
There was never more than a 50-person cap. So they capped it at 50 people, and with the masks and the 50 people, a lot of places shut down, and we had to look at it. we looked at the risks that we were running. We looked at the ways we were trying to mitigate the risk by offering testing and offering masks and hand sanitizer and things like that. And we made a call to open up 2 12-step meetings here at our facility. And it was a call that I got to tell you, we argued over quite a bit, whether there was liability involved. How are we going to be perceived publicly? Are people going to think that we just don't, that we don't care what the CDC suggestions are? And we came to the conclusion that A, we're going to stay within the legal parameters, and B, regardless of what the general public thinks, we're going to, when we look back on 2020, we're going to be one of the few places that said, no, we're not shutting our fucking doors. You are welcome here. End of story.
And you're saving lives.
I appreciate that. Win, lose, or draw, we decided we'll die on this hill. We're going to help people in person. And I don't care what you think.
So I want people who see this to understand that the facility you're in do not have beds in the facility. So first of all,
no, it's an outpatient.
So understand that you're holding 12-step meetings. There are not beds in the facility, else I'm sure you wouldn't have done that. But you were saving lives by holding those 12-step meetings. And I think that's so important. That's so,
you need a place to meet.
Yeah.
Zoom, in the Zoom meetings, I've been a proponent of Zoom meetings ever since it was introduced in stay-at-home orders, especially in bigger cities where things were locked down. I've always encouraged people, get on Zoom. But here locally, if we're able to offer an in-person option, I mean, we need to. I'm on steering committees for a couple of large men's groups, and I've been one of those squeaky wheel. I've been the squeaky wheel in those groups too. Like, hey guys, if we're not helping people, then what the hell are we doing here?
And so that is why I just adore you. I think you are an amazing individual, an amazing man. I know you're an amazing father and an incredible husband. I hear you the way you talk about your wife. I just think you are amazing with that.
I appreciate all. That's very, very kind.
You're welcome. It's just you walk like you talk. You've sat on the board of directors for 175 beds. I mean, you've opened up this incredible facility, a Cornerstone Healing Center that is just, I don't know if you've ever seen your reviews. I'm not sure if you've ever even looked at them. The reviews that you guys have are like all 5 stars. You have them all over Google, all over everywhere. You guys are just like way up. I don't even know if you know that. I'm honored to meet someone like you, because I just moved here to Scottsdale. I know a lot of people where I got sober and all that, but I mean, just to be hooked up with you, just getting here is just amazing. So I'm very honored to have met you and seen your facility, and just the way with integrity and dignity, and the people I've met there are just amazing. And, I do have a final question for you. A couple things. First of all, who do you really think is responsible for some of this pandemic and this crisis going on? Who do you think is responsible?
It's a perfect storm. If I'm being honest, it's a perfect storm with a lot of factors. With a lot of factors. So you've got big pharma that really, with faded ethics over the last couple of decades, pushed out a lot of opiates to the American public. And, obviously it's being argued in a court of law whether or not they knew what they were doing, or the implications of how far the damage would go if they did this, and they did it. So you've got that part of it. People are still grown-ups, right? For the most part, you're getting prescriptions. There are a lot of people that once they became addicted, abused the system and lied and did all those things to get more drugs. And there are a lot of people who would not consider themselves drug addicts, who were prescribed every narcotic they ever took.
Right.
So that's one aspect. You've got big pharma and some of the indiscretions that were done there. You've also got, and again, not to be too political or anything like that, because I think I embrace Chinese culture and Japanese culture. I have, my wife and I even traveled to China some years ago for a wedding. It was a really beautiful time.
Right.
Nothing but the most respect for other cultures. But just to speak plainly, there are people within China that are producing fentanyl in massive quantity that comes over via shipping containers, and they port in Mexico. And again, I have friends that live in Mexico City, so this is nothing to do with them as a country or anything like that. I'm just
Right.
describing what happens. We have large amounts of fentanyl being produced in China that are going through Mexican ports and then coming over the border, specifically into Arizona and Texas and New Mexico.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And then flooding the entire country. So you've got, so in short, it's a similar problem that we've always had. We've got illegal drug traffickers, right? We've got, we've had the war, the quote unquote, the war on drugs for a long time now, 30 years, 40 years, almost my entire life.
Right.
And yet we've somehow reached a pinnacle where there are more overdoses than ever.
Right.
There are more people that die from drugs and alcohol than ever. So, it kind of gets, it's a hidden statistic. The three leading causes of death in America are heart disease, cancer, and accidental injury causing death, which doesn't sound like anything. But if you look at accidental injury causing death, that's primarily fentanyl overdose.
Right.
That's the number 3 cause of death in the country. And if you're under 50, it's the number 1 cause of death. Because people that are in their 30s and 40s aren't dying of cancer and heart attacks. Not very often. It still happens.
Right.
I had a brother. I had 2 brothers actually die under 50 of heart attacks. So heart disease in my family. But yeah, so you've got illegal drug traffickers that are international, that are breaking international laws, that are breaking American laws, and really pushing substances through the system and into our economy. That's really never been different. That's the same as it's always been. There's different players, but it's always been there.
Kind of like the perfect storm.
Yes. Now the fentanyl itself
is.
We've never seen anything like this in the big book, in the AA book, that blue one that some people read.
That some people read and some people use as like a coffee. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. In that book, they suggest when you're working with a new person who isn't sure if they're the real thing or not, if they really need to do all this work, they suggest controlled drinking. Try some controlled drinking. See if you can drink and stop abruptly. Well, I got to tell you,
bearing in mind what we have told you,
right. Those types of suggestions are hard to make in good conscience when these people are going to go out and use fentanyl, and they're likely going to die. I don't know how to tell somebody, hey, you're not sure, maybe you should go try some more fentanyl. I can't say that. I can't in good conscience say that. I can't tell you how many people I've had personal relationships in the last 1 year I've buried. And those are just people I know personally. We're losing about 500 a day, American lives, to drugs and alcohol currently.
And those are the ones we know of.
That's the ones we know of. So what you've got drug traffickers, you've got isolation, right? You've got this highly lethal substance that was not really around before. This stuff wasn't around when I was in my 20s.
No, I mean, back in the 60s when the heroin overdoses were going on, there weren't as many deaths as there are now, because this is just a skyrocket drug that is just bizarre.
It is. It's bonkers. And you're right. And they're putting it in everything. Yeah, this has been a perfect storm. I'm very hopeful for people like you and others out there who care, that because I don't know how, pinpointing, like it's one thing to analyze and kind of look at where this problem is coming from, but really we need to take personal responsibility, reopen meetings, reopen treatment centers, find ways, literally just by opening 12-step meetings, you create a free environment where people can find free help.
Right.
And it's a massive infrastructure that almost, it was crippled during the pandemic. That's a way that we can all take personal responsibility. You can hold a 12-step meeting in your backyard of your house.
That's what I was going to ask you. So how do you feel like who's responsible to help clean this mess up? How and who? And that was the next question I was going to ask you.
Well, I think it's at some level, everyone can help. Those of us that are in recovery, personally and or professionally, I think if we're not professionally, I think it's time to really shake off whatever fears we might have personally and act according to our ethics and our heart and our conscience when it comes to what we do in addiction professionally. We are losing the fight against addiction. We need all hands. I'm trying to say this without crying. We need all fucking hands on deck right now.
I agree.
Not tomorrow, not when things are safer, like now. We need more people to help right now. So if you work in addiction, it's time to decide if you're in the right field or not. Because if you're not sure and you want to take your time and isolate, maybe you should go do something else. Go be an accountant, go be something that allows you to isolate. This work requires human connection, and we're losing people so rapidly. These are people's kids.
Their brothers, their sisters, the mothers, they're the kids, they're everybody.
They're dying so fast. So if you're a professional in the addiction space, we need all hands on deck right now, today. If you're in the recovery world, if you're a 12-stepper and you got sober and 12-step meetings is kind of where you found your new life, please, this is more than ever. We need you to facilitate 12-step meetings. We need you to open up your home, your backyard, start being the squeaky wheel at your church, any place you have that where you can hold a small 12-step meeting. Get involved and try to create safe havens for people that are struggling to come in and air out their stuff. Not to mention all the other political things that have happened in the last year and a half. I mean, people need to process this stuff. They need to be able to talk about what's going on, right? You just get mad and get on social media and just get mad at people, and they drink or they smoke fentanyl and they die. Bodies being found in apartments locked by themselves because they're by themselves.
Exactly, by themselves. I don't know one addict who's ever died really, or like not any of my personal friends or family members have ever died or overdosed with people. They were all usually found in hotels by themselves.
Most of my friends, same. Even in the last couple of years, yeah.
So
even people that aren't in recovery at all, and maybe just kind of listening to this, maybe they have a loved one or something, even those that aren't in the addiction world, whether it's 12-step world or in treatment, there's still a perspective change that can take place. Realizing that drug addicts, what we call drug addicts, may not be what you have in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Drug addicts, you don't have to be homeless flying a sign under the freeway overpass. Right.
Look at us.
Right. I'm a taxpayer and I'm an employer. I'm an entrepreneur. Like,
right.
You're an actress and a model and a recovery coach. Like
an author. We don't.
An author. I think there's still, unfortunately, a stigma around addiction that pigeonholes people that struggle with substances to some sort of a homeless, seriously mentally ill population, which may or may not be true to some degree, but it affects 15 to 20% of the entire human population. Mm-hmm. That includes people of all financial backgrounds. It includes people of all races, of all sex, genders, sexual orientation. There's not a demographic cohort you can slice up where you're going to find no drug addicts or no alcoholism. It's everybody's. It's 20%, give or take, of everyone.
It has absolutely no respect for any of that.
No.
It has zero respect. It doesn't matter where you came from, who you are, what color you are, what you believe in, what you don't believe in. No, it has no respect.
It doesn't matter which way you vote.
Nope.
It doesn't matter at all.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think even for people that aren't directly affected, I think maybe just reading a little, reading articles like yours, following you, reading your book, getting out there and becoming educated about what addiction really is and isn't. I think a lot of people who maybe have a kind of a small fixed mindset about what a drug addict looks like or what an alcoholic looks like might be surprised to find out that their doctor of 20 years, is a sober member of a 12-step program, or find out that their attorney or their college, the college professor for their kids, et cetera, et cetera. You could fill in the blanks with just about any station in life, and you'll find people that are in recovery, whether they're willing to self-disclose that or not.
Right.
Because some people don't. Some people like to stay anonymous.
And that's
fine. I understand.
That's fine. I know for me, it was a calling that I finally stepped out and said, hey, this is what it is. That's it. And because I'm just raw.
Yep.
Like you, we're just raw. Hi, this is what it is. This is what we've done. And how can I help you? How can I be of service to you?
Yep.
But I just have one last question for you, Estil. This has been such a pleasure because I just think the world of you. I really do.
Likewise.
So this is what I'm going to start asking everybody that I interview. I want to know, what do you pledge to do this year? What do you pledge? Because I've made a pledge to myself, right? And I'm challenging everybody, right? And I'm putting everybody on the spot, so you're nothing special. I pledged to myself that I was going to make a difference, that I'm going to seek out people that are making a difference in the world, and I'm going to put them out on the spotlight any way I can, right? So what do you pledge to do? I know you've got your treatment center and you've got your kids, whether it's to give one extra bed a year right? Or is it to find a new facility for one extra meeting? But I want to know what you're going to do to pledge this year to make a difference for this particular crisis, this opioid fentanyl epidemic that is just wiping out cities and towns and families and just 500 people a day. What is it that you can do to make a difference?
So I'm pledging to add 10 more much needed beds made available, and to spend as much of my spare time as I can continuing to help people in the 12-step community. We're also, as we move facilities, we're talking with another large group that got shut out of a church. We're going to be starting, I'd love to have you come. We're going to start another Saturday noon meeting, a big one at our new facility.
I would love to.
Yeah.
That is wonderful. 10 more beds.
10 more beds, another big meeting that's opening up here in about 3 weeks.
10 more beds. If you keep them for, you keep them for 30 days, that's 120 beds. You keep them for 60 days. What is that? 60, that's 60 beds for the year. That's 60 people to help a year to save lives. That's a big pledge. You are a rock star, my friend. You are a rock star, and I appreciate your time today, and I appreciate all you do and what you give back to the community and to help all other alcoholics and addicts. And Estil, I can't thank you enough for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me, Donna. It's been a real pleasure.
Okay, sweetie. We will see you soon. Once again, this has been Donna Speir with Naked Truth, and I hope to see you next month for my next article, which will be a great one. And today, don't forget, Estil Wallace is with Cornerstone Healing Center out here in Scottsdale. You can see the links below. And Estil, we will see you soon.